And we're back on another episode, Bridgerton, episode 2. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, I hope you guys have your tea like I do, because I am so ready to get into my review and my thoughts of episode 2. So you guys missed my review of episode 1, which was really just an introduction to the season and, you know, an introduction to the characters. Then I don't know what you're waiting on, but you need to go and watch that video, okay? I'm judging you, fully judging you. But this is going to be a different review. It is going to be my thoughts and my opinions on episode 2. So guys, this is a spoiler alert once again, but here we are. Okay, so episode 2 starts off with basically the Duke's birth story and how that came about. And it basically gives us some more backstory to him and why he is a little bit the way that he is. And it also introduces us to his father and their relationship, which is very interesting. I mean, it was really heartbreaking to see the fact that, number one, his mom had died whilst giving birth to him. So that was kind of like a really hard take too. And then the fact that his father was literally just, he only cared about the baby. He literally just cared that Simon was here and he had an heir. That is literally the whole thing. He didn't even care about the fact that his wife just died or anything else. He was just so excited to show off his son, and that is pretty much what he did. We go further into the episode, and you know, Daphne is now the talk of the town, right? She danced with the Duke last night for 2 dances, and she had a great time. So now everybody's coming, the guys are coming, the gifts are coming, everything's coming to the house. You know, she feels very special because now, okay, great, I'm getting attention. And that is all that I wanted. So we start seeing more attention for Daphne, which is great because it seems like their ruse is working. Okay, so remember how I told you about the creep and how I didn't like the creep? Well, in this episode, you fully see why Vee does not like the creep. I'm not here for him at all. He's basically trying to spend the episode like forcing Daphne to marry him. And you know, finally Anthony's on her side because the Duke let it be known of like what I told you in the last episode of the fact that, you know, she was kind of seen in a compromising position. She was with the creep in the garden and the Duke walked in and saw them together, but he saw the creep basically forcing himself on her. They don't really go too much into it. They kind of fluff over it, but basically it's like, okay, so now the Duke really has to continue this fake bond that he has with Daphne, because otherwise her reputation basically could be smashed because of the creep. I'm not even gonna say his name because I'm just gonna call him Creep because no one gives a damn about Lord Deerbrook. I'm just gonna be honest. Let me just say something real quick, okay? So Simon basically beats up Lord Deerbrook. I mean, black and blue. When you see him again in episode 2, Lord Deerbrook look a hot ass mess. He approaches the mom and he's basically like, oh, if you do not let me marry Daphne, I'm going to tell everybody that she was by herself with a man and that she's got this going on, blah, 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 blah. Everybody knows that this will ruin Daphne for this season. No men will be interested in her and this just cannot come out. So Daphne now feels that she has to marry Deerbrook. And she does the grown-up decision. Everyone's like, no, you don't need to marry him, you don't need to marry him. But she takes the grown-up decision of, I am going to marry him. And she is miserable. I'm gonna jump back real quick, okay? Because when Deerbrook and the Duke, Simon, were alone that night and Simon beat his ass, Oh, I was so happy. But anyway, when he did that, that was the moment I knew that Simon loved Daphne. Okay, so in episode 1, I told you that I got you get the feeling, like, you know, there's something there. You see the passion, you see the way they look, you see the curiosity, you know, all of this. They're still courting, fake courting, but, you know, they're courting nonetheless. You know, the Duke is showing up, he's sending expensive flowers to her house. You know, they promenade in public. All of this type of stuff they are still doing. So to me, I'm just kind of like, okay. So you see that his interest in Daphne is starting to grow, but he himself is forcing himself, because of his relationship with his father, which is what we see uncovering in this episode as well. Because of his relationship with his father, he's just so stubborn, he will not allow himself to love her. But he does. When he stands up, I don't know about anybody else, but y'all tell me, because I know when he stood up for Daphne and beat Dearbrook up for implying that she wasn't clean, like, basically, I was like, dude, who you trying to put a front on for, boo-boo? We know you love Daphne. We know you are falling in love with Daphne, okay? Anyway, so moving past all that, but I'm telling you, that's the first moment I knew that he loved her. Anyone else, y'all want to tell me? You tell me, because I'll wait. I'm just going to take a sip. I'll wait. So I should continue? Okay, episode 2, she goes to the lunch with the Queen. After this whole fiasco with Daphne, Daphne's miserable, and things like that. She goes to lunch with the Queen, and the Queen basically is telling her, oh no, Daphne's gonna marry the Duke, okay? Like, and whatever the Queen say, and the Queen hints at, you know, we gonna do what the Queen wants, okay? So Mum's like, okay, I need a plan. We need to get rid of Dearbrook. Like, let's get to it. Her and her maid are like, let's get to it, okay? Or the housekeeper, I prefer to call her the housekeeper. Her and her housekeeper are basically like, because the housekeeper's like, well, what are we gonna do? And she's like, we're gonna invite Mrs. Dearbrook over for tea. I said, what's she got up her sleeve? I was like, what's she gonna do? So, you know, mamas and women, you know, we do like talk now. We do like a little bit of gossip. This is the plan of the day. We take her, we have her here for lunch. We try and find out some information about her son. And whilst you're doing that, obviously the maids will talk, and let's see if we can dig in and get some juicy gossip. They got exactly what they needed, okay? Word on the street is Dearbrook was sowing his royal oats in other women out of wedlock, and you know that just is not okay, okay? That was not okay in those times, and he had knocked up a maid, okay? That told you he a creep. Told you he be trying to force himself on women all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if he forced himself on the maid, but we don't know, so I can't make accusations and say that he did, but you put 2 and 2 together, okay? And what do the women do? Their plan is to spread the news around the town. That's what they do, so that Lady Whistledown gets that information so she can write about it in the newspaper, and boom, done. Mum's taking care of it. Dearbrook's left town. Daphne is now free to marry the Duke and do what she wants, because everyone thinks she's gonna marry the Duke, right? So Daphne's now free to marry the Duke or do what she wants, and Daphne now can breathe again. She is very happy. So that is Daphne's story pretty much for the episode 2. But we also see Eloise more in this episode, and we see Benedict. So Benedict is the older brother, not as old as Anthony. I think he's like the second eldest brother. And he catches Eloise basically outside smoking, which she shouldn't be doing, but you know, and he basically joins her, and you see that they have a real close connection outside when they're talking. And you know, Eloise is basically trying to she's venting to her brother about the fact that she doesn't want this life, and she sees how miserable Daphne is, and this isn't what she wants for herself. She just wants to be herself, and she just wants to feel free. And Benedict is struggling with the same thing himself. So they kind of find love and hope in each other, and talk about it together. So that's kind of nice to see that relationship, because Eloise really did struggle throughout this episode with just the fact of how everything works, and to see her sister go from so happy and, oh my gosh, this is so exciting, all these men and all these suitors and blah blah blah, and I want to have children, to then being forced to have to marry Deerbrook and saying she will, and she's absolutely miserable. You know, Eloise is like, don't you want more, Daphne? Don't you want more? Literally. And I do this when I'm talking about Eloise, because she's literally like that person. Big ass character, okay? And yeah, she's just kind of like, girl, there's so much more to life. We ain't gonna do this. And I agree. You know, I don't feel like you should have to get married, but back in the day, I could understand it. It was the thing to do, right, of the season. So that's pretty much what they do. Also in this episode, we get to see more about Marina and her pregnancy, and how it has to be kept hush-hush. Nobody knows about it. And she's basically locked up in the Featheringtons' home, basically out of sight. And you find a little out more. She's, you know, she kind of opens up to Penelope about her love, because Penelope and Eloise are like, how the hell do you make like how do you become with child when you're not married? Because no one ever explained anything. And I think that was the problem back in those days with women. The adult women never explained to their kids about what it is to experience life, and what it is that's gonna happen, and what all they do is and the bad. They don't give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. All they do is give you the good, and how you're supposed to have. This is how life is supposed to be. This is how we're going to do it, and this is what is going to happen. That is it. That's all they tell. So all of these women all the younger women are very naive. But yes, this is the time when they're out there for the season trying to find a man to marry, and they don't even understand one thing about marriage, apart from the fact that you have a baby when you're married. So the fact that Miss Thompson, Marina, is pregnant and she's not married, they can't comprehend or figure out how the hell did she get pregnant if she's not married? How did that happen? They don't even know how babies are made. Oh Lord, mums be always so uncomfortable to be talking to their children. Guys, speak to your kids, Lord. Anyway, so Marina kind of opens up about it, and she basically says, you have children when you're in love, you know. And then Penelope tells Eloise that, you know, this is when you have kids, when you're in love. So I guess Eloise kind of understands where Daphne is starting to come from with the fact that she's having babies. But then she's like, why do you even want to go through that? You remember how Mom, when she had our little sister, was traumatizing us? Hyacinth, I think her name is. She's like, you remember how she was traumatizing us? You heard those screams. She goes, why would you ever want to do this? Eloise is funny. I love her character. She's honestly, seriously, the most honest and brilliant character in Bridgerton. I'm not even gonna lie. The thing I do want to say is, we also see Lady Danbury's relationship with Simon, and it's very, very important, and it plays a major role in the season. So when we learned that Simon had, it took him a long time to start speaking. And when he did speak, he had a stammer. And his dad turned his back on him and said, you will never be my son. You're dead to me. You're the worst thing that ever. His dad used to talk terrible about him. And he turned his back on him because he would not speak when he was younger. And Lady Danbury one day went over to the house and she was like, how do you not know me? And she looked at him and he was older because the nurse had kept him hidden as the father wished. And the nurse was trying to help him and teach him. And, you know, he learned everything he was supposed to do, to fence, to shoot a gun, that he learned everything from the nurse. And he had this stammer. So Lady Danbury one day had gone over and she's like, how do you not know me? I'm your mother's best friend. Your mother would turn in her grave if she did not know that we did not have a relationship. you know, and she's like, speak to me, boy. Do you not hear? Do you not have any manners? And then he starts to speak, and he's like, I cannot, no, speak. And she was like, because it's .comment, and he's the Duke. He's going to be the Duke. So he has to be seen to be perfect. Lady Danbury basically said, this is enough, and I am taking him under my wing, and I will teach you. She said, one thing you will promise me is that when you walk into a room, and this was the best line in the whole freaking season. The line is, when you step into the light, you become the attention that you command. And that's one of the strongest lines in Bridgerton. And that just showed what type of person she is. She's like, I'm gonna get you over your fears of speaking. And I believe, honestly, deep down, he wasn't speaking because his father was so wretched and horrible to him that he didn't feel confident enough, because he learns to speak. He learned, and he speaks very well. And then he goes to see his father, and the stammer comes back. Whenever he gets scared, the stammer comes back. So Lady Danbury raises him to be the Duke that he is, that we see on the screen today. To be that man that when you walk into that room, you are the person that commands all of the attention that you seek and you deserve every time. And we will not speak of this side of you, because nobody will ever know. And that was amazing. The boy was hidden for so long. No one knew he was alive. The dad was going around basically saying, everyone assumed his son had died, because he was like, my son, did he say my son is dead? I think he may have said my son is dead. And when nobody else saw him, when he went back to the other house, everybody was like, okay, where he at? Like, so no one spoke about it, and everyone assumed that he had died. And he wasn't dead. He was still very much alive, and he was learning to speak. And because he didn't know how to speak, it was just a form of abuse. He suffered a lot of abuse as a child from his father. And I can understand why he was the way that he is. And in this episode, you see a scene where he goes to see his dad on his deathbed whilst he's back in town. So his dad dies when he's back in town. And he said to his dad, I promise you that I will never, because the dad's like, I'm so happy you came back. I'm so happy to know that before I die that you're taking over and you're going to be the Duke and you're amazing and blah, 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 all this BS. And then he's like, wait, hold on, where did this all come from? And he says to his father, I will never marry. And the heir to the Bassett name, to the Hastings line, will die with him. He said, I will never marry, I will never have children, and your name will die with me. Because that's how much he hated his dad. So he refused to get married. Now we understand. Now we see a full circle of the Duke, right? And why he doesn't get married. Why he's not interested in settling down. Why he just likes to have fun. Because he made a promise to his father that he would never, because he didn't want to be anything like his dad towards any children. And he remembered his childhood. He's still stuck in his childhood. And he still holds a lot of feelings of resentment towards his father. And because of that, he is so selfishly hurting himself and what he probably would desire, being the Duke, because he refuses to let it go. Guys, this is episode 2 is a therapy session all around, if you ask me. It gives you an all around more in depth of the characters and their situations and what happens. And to see that the Duke has the light to love, because I'm telling you, I don't know, you guys gonna tell me if you disagree with me, but I swear, I can see it in the Duke's eyes that he loves Daphne. He is falling in love for Daphne. When he beats up Lord Deerbrook, he is in love with Daphne. And you know how I know even more? Because it stamps on right at the end. When Deerbrook's gone away and Daphne and the Duke are back to do their ruse and they are dancing. And she turns around to him and she says to him, this is no longer a ruse. This is so much more than a ruse, and this is my life. I need love. I want to marry for love. And, you know, this is what I want. So she's like, if you do not want to be a part of this, she's taking control over her. Like, I loved this, Daphne. I said, yes, Daphne, go ahead, girl. But she's like, if you don't want to be a part of that, then you can leave right now. And you do not need to be a part of it. Tell me. And he looks at her. And he smiles. And he says, okay, I've got you. Basically. And that's when they start calling each other by their first names, Simon and Daphne. And so the love story begins. Thanks guys for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown, my thoughts, my opinions on the characters on this episode, and I can't wait to hit you guys with episode 3. Oh, do not forget. You thought you were going somewhere. No. Do not forget to give me a thumbs up. Leave your comments down below in the comment section. And if you're not a part of the Candidly Vee family, I would love to have you. Tell me, what do you want me to review? I'll watch it, I'll review it, and I'll tell you my feelings on it. So let me know in the comment section below. And I love you. I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.